I'm going to talk to you about the princess seams once again. I have already showed you some types of the princess seams. You already know how to make a side details instead of the side seams, and how to move the side seams. Have a look at my basic pattern. I have already drawn the side details instead of the side seam. I'm not going to explain how to do it once again. First, I'm going to draw a princess seam on the front. I'm going to show you one and the same basic pattern to show you different types of the princess seams. I don't want to cut many more basic patterns just for one tutorial. Your task is to learn and memorize. I give you a lot of useful information. What should we do if we want the princess seam to start from the armhole? First, we need to find a point in the armhole. Let it be here, above the middle of the armhole. I need to draw a straight line from this point to the bust top. What's next? I do not want this line to be straight. I'll alter it a bit, making it a bit round. The difference here is just about 4 or 5 millimeters. Have a look at the new line. It's a bit more round. I had connected this point with the bust top with a straight line, and then I changed it. Next, I need to cut the tack on the front. I've already told you a lot of times that the lines shouldn't be drawn with rulers. We were not made with rulers, and the pattern should fit us perfectly. Notice that it's biased and is slightly round. Watch what I'm doing next. This is the chest dart. I need to close the original opening. Next, I want to show you several options of making princess seams, using this basic pattern as an example. I want to remind you that if we move the chest dart, the shoulder should be cut for about 4 or 5 millimeters. So now we have a princess seam, which comes out of the armhole and goes down to the bottom. Next, I need to cut the side detail. This part should be made more smooth and round. I've already showed you how to do it in one of the previous videos. I've already showed you these techniques before. If you need to expand the pattern on the hips, do it. If you mark this point higher, it will be correct as well. When drawing the patterns, you are the masters. The back, the side detail, the front side detail, and the center front detail. I'll sign the center front. I'm not going to change anything now. Let's talk about the back.
примерно вот так вот.
I'll draw a mark somewhere in the middle of the armhole.
И вот сюда. Таким
I'll draw
образом,
the line this way.
мы делаем рельеф. На
This is how I'm drawing the princess seam on the back.
чисто такой характер.
This is just a decorative detail. By doing so, we don't change the feet of the pattern. It's just a matter of design and decoration. Do not forget about the seam allowance when cutting the pattern. The line should be smooth and beautiful.
Все отлично. Вот смотрите. Вернемся к передней части.
The center back detail, the side back detail, the side detail, the side front detail, the center front detail.
Что хочу сказать?
Let's have a look at the princess seams.
Хороший нормальный рельеф.
They are perfectly fine. Such princess seams were popular in 80s and 90s, and they're even sewn nowadays. I have nothing against them. They make the garments fit the bodies well. They're kinda out of style. Nowadays, it's a rare case when a princess seam goes right for the bust top. I deliberately made it this way. I wanted to show you how it looks like, and now I want to show you something different. I've closed the opening, and next I want to draw another line. I hope that everything is clear so far. I'm moving the chest start back to where it was in the beginning. Here it is. This is the princess seam. What should be done next? I want the princess seam to start in the same point, but do not reach the bust top for about 6 or 8 centimeters.
Примерно вот так вот.
I'll outline this part, and then the line should go down.
Смотрим.
You can draw the princess seams however you want.
Вы берите, отрабатывайте себе, потому что
This one will look much better than the first one. This is the side front detail.
И, конечно, эту нагрудную
The chest dart should be moved here.
вот сюда. Будет маленькая вот такая выточка из центра груди, и мимо нее рельеф. Но я, конечно, очень...
The dart is going to be tiny.
Я вам уже говорила, что...
I really like bias darts.
К маленькой выточке. Не вот
When it's not horizontal but bias,
а немножечко
it's
сзади.
even not noticeable on the clothes.
Разговаривайте с человеком,
Very beautiful.
раз у нас вот там, вот внизу. Её дальше
This is a very useful technique.
видно.
I need to close the original opening. Here it is now.
Теперь получается, что у меня рельеф.
The princess seam runs along the bust,
груди. И выточка. Смотрите, куда
and the chest dart was moved.
Вот она куда ушла.
Here
Вот.
it is.
Остаток вот. Вы видите, да?
I've told you everything about the princess seams in details.
Сначала мы говорили о
First, about the regular princess seams,
уходящих в пройму.
and then about the shaved princess seams. I need to do the same thing on the back.
Где бачок,
Do not forget to add about 1 centimeter extension here.
чуть добавлять обязательно. Помним,
Don't worry about moving the chest dart.
смотрите, объем уйдет вот сюда.
When the dart is
выточка
stitched,
закроется, и эта
The
линия
line will be
выровняется.
perfect.
Объем вот отсюда уйдет сюда. Вот эта линия уже не
The
будет.
garment would
После того,
fit
как
your
мы
body
выточку
perfectly.
вот эту
Don't worry
выточку.
about that.
Вот эта линия
Even if you have the full
выравнивается
bust.
объем. Так что у нас тут все правильно. Передняя
The front.
часть. Талия
This is the waist
выточка.
tuck.
Вот она у меня сейчас,
Be
смотрите.
very attentive.
внимательно. А я не хочу
I don't want the
сейчас
tuck to be
подвинуть
placed
талиевую
here.
выточку. Значит, что? Я эту выточку игнорирую. Вот я
Ignore this
просто
one.
нету здесь, просто нету. А вот
I'll move its opening here.
вот это приталивание мне надо перевести вот сюда.
As I've already said, the tack is not going to be made
Она мне
here.
нужна. Это я просто для наглядности клею. Не нужна. Вместо вот этой
I've moved the opening of the waist tack on the front to the princess seam.
приталиваем здесь, в нашем рельефчике.
Be very attentive when working with the tack's opening. You can cut some from the waistline, but not higher. If you cut even a small piece, the bust wouldn't fit you. I showed you how to make princess seam which start from the armhole. You can determine the number of princess seams by yourselves. Work with the patterns carefully. Draw the princess seams to understand how much of them you need to make. Whether you need to make side details instead of the side seams or not. What kind of tacks you want to make. Where the dart should be placed. I'm just showing you the techniques. Before we begin, I want to pay attention to the tack. I've drawn it again for it to be clearly visible. I've also drawn the side detail instead of the side seam. Here's the waistline. You should always know where it is. I'm going to show you how to make princess seams, which go to the pockets. This is a usual design for jackets. The location of the pocket is usually 5 cm below the waistline. This is not a strict rule. Someone may make it 4 cm, someone 5. I do not like when the pockets are too low. I want to measure and mark 5 cm down from the waistline and draw a horizontal line here. This is the pocket opening. What should you pay attention to before you start drawing some details? Have a close look at the basic pattern. Here's the side detail made instead of the side seam. I'm going to start drawing the pocket, and the princess seam will go down to it. First, I need to measure this distance. 15 centimeters. Perfect. Someone may have 20 or 17. If you don't want the pockets to be that wide, then you need to move the waist tack for about 1 centimeter. Or you can also make this detail tighter by making the tack opening here bigger. Anyway, you need to make sure that this line is not more than 15 or 14.5 centimeters long. This is how wide the pocket should be. If you are of a small size and the pocket is 13 or 14 centimeters wide, it's also okay. Have a look at the tack. What should we do? It should be made tighter. The maximum width for it is 1 centimeter. Be careful, please. When I start cutting, you'll understand what I'm doing. We do not need to pay attention to any of these details. I'm going to cut the side detail next.
Отрезаем подкройной бачок.
Do not forget to make the side detail 1 cm wider in the back. I've shown you how to do it in one of the previous videos. Have a look here. I'm going to show you several options.
Смотрите.
This line might be horizontal. It can also be bias. It will also be correct. We are working with the horizontal line. If you want to make it bias from these points of pocket opening, it can be done. What should be done next? I need to cut the pocket opening I've just drawn.
5 сантиметров. Дошла до вот середины выточки, где я нарисовала новую маленькую выточку, ее вырезаю. Как бы хочется...
When you reach the tack opening, cut it.
Тут другие способы приталивания.
What do we have here? If I close the chest dart,
просто обыкновенно вот эту выточку.
I get a classic jacket front. Have a look at it.
Вот сейчас у нас полочка классического жакета. Вот она.
When sewing classic jackets, don't make tacks here.
Нельзя такую здесь делать выточку. Мы ее частично должны...
A part of the opening should be moved to the armhole.
Максимум, хотя бы на сантиметр. Вот. Смотрите, что я сделала. Разрезала в пройму и открываю.
Move at least 1 centimeter here. The armhole should be made a bit wider and more loose.
Также идет освобождение проймы.
By doing so, you'll also make the dot top not that sharp. There are some other techniques. We'll talk about them later. I need to fix the details this way. This is a pattern for a classic jacket. I hope that everything is clear so far. If the tack opening was wider, the pattern wouldn't be accurate. There's also one more thing I want you to remember. Do not forget about the seam allowances when cutting the pattern. The overcast, the tacks, the darts, button stands, 7 mm to the necklines and the armholes. This is very important. Have a look here. Imagine you add a seam allowance here, and then you stop. When cutting the dart, stop here. If you cut it, and at the fitting it turns out that you need to lower this point, you won't be able to do it. This is why I recommend you to stop cutting about 1 cm down from the bust stop, or even 2 or 3 centimeters. You will be able to cut the extra piece off. Right, 2 or 3 centimeters would be perfect. You'll cut the extra piece when the details are stitched. Don't cut them when cutting the pattern. Do not forget about the seam allowance. No seam allowance in the pocket opening. When you cut and tack this part, there will be a hole here. Do not add any seam allowance to the pocket opening. This is a rule. I'll sign it here. Today I showed you in detail how to create a classic jacket front. Don't be afraid of experiments. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. I've already showed you several videos about the necklines, princess seams, side details. You know how to move darts and tacks, how to work with the armholes. I want you to be confident. I'm going to show you many more useful videos. My course on the 10 measurement cutting system is available. Having bought the course, you will be able to make a perfect basic pattern according to your own measurements.
разнообразными.
The course on how to make bomber jackets is also available. I want us to be different and beautiful. This is what I'm here for. My name is Paukshte Irina. Subscribe to my channel, write comments, share the videos, press the like and the bell buttons. I would really appreciate your support. Thank you. Goodbye.